It's good to see you, Mike Lang, anotherpintplease.com. Today we're going to grill something a little unorthodox, but it's near and dear to my heart. It's planked meatloaf. And yeah, the plank is what makes it all possible. Now, growing up, I had a kind of love-hate, mostly hate relationship with meatloaf. But let me tell you what, you put it on a plank, you put it on the grill, it is fantastic. And I will also add, gratuitous plug, this recipe's in my cookbook, One Beer Grilling, available everywhere fine books are sold. So it's planked meatloaf, that's what's on the grill. I'm using a maple plank tonight, but any variety of plank will most definitely work. And before we get the meatloaf prepped, let's prep the grill. The grill heating up, let's go ahead and get the meatloaf prepped. And speaking of the grill, I always also set up a two-zone fire. That is, the coals are pushed to one side, then an empty spot or a safe place where there's no direct heat. We'll start that plank then on the direct heat side, and then once it starts to smolder, which it will, we'll then move it to the indirect side to finish cooking safely. The loaf is pretty easy. We're going to go ahead and take 2 pounds of ground chuck. By ground chuck, we mean the 80-20 variety. We want to maximize that fat, because where there's fat, there is flavor. 1 cup of panko, 2 beaten eggs, 1/4 cup of onion, 2 cloves of garlic, Worcestershire sauce, and some tomato paste, and then a combination of salt, black pepper, and ground mustard. Take the plank and we're going to set it directly right across the coals. Okay, all we're going to want is that plank to start to smolder. Good rule of thumb, if you can smell it, it's smoldering. So once you get it looking about like that, let's go ahead and take it off. This thing is really going to fill the plank up nicely and mold it into a loaf. And see, that's looking pretty good. Next thing is going to be, take our bacon, one next to it, and one next to that. I'm going to run one just down here across the bottom, and one more on the far side. All right, with that, our planked meatloaf is ready for the grill. Okay, we're looking for medium heat around 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and then same as before, the plank's gonna go directly on the coals. And then once we smell that plank start to smolder and we see it, then we're gonna move it to indirect. This is going to take about 45 to 55 minutes to cook, which by my watch means I've got time for a beer. About halfway through cooking, I also like to rotate the actual plank about 180 degrees, because that way you make sure, because the coals are on one side, that we're going to apply heat equally to both sides of the loaf. Usually not too bad, a pair of tongs, a pair of gloves, and then once you get it back in place, just lower the lid and keep on cooking. It always rains at the most inopportune times. The last 20 minutes or so, it's time to start basting, and all that's going to be is a 1/4 cup of BBQ sauce and a 1/4 cup of butter. All right, let's get a little temp check here. Yep, there we go. We're looking for 155 on the nose. And that is it, friends. Planked meatloaf. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you soon. My bacon. It's money.